There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Sunday, June 28th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is down 0.1% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,156, a high of 9,181, and a low of 8,855. That's $1 for 10,921 Satoshis. Volume is a little high for a Sunday, with 4,066 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 81% heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65%. And now, a reading from the Principia Discordia by Malcalypse the Younger. The myth of the apple of discord. It seems that Zeus was preparing a wedding banquet for Peleus and Thetis, and he did not want to invite Eris because of her reputation as a troublemaker. This made Eris angry, and so she fashioned an apple of pure gold and inscribed on it Callisti, to the prettiest one. And on the day of the fete, she rolled it into the banquet hall, and then left to be alone and joyously partake of a hot dog. Now, 3 of the invited goddesses, Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite, each immediately claimed it to belong to herself because of the inscription. And they started fighting, and they started throwing punch all over the place and everything. Finally, Zeus calmed things down and declared that an arbitrator must be selected, which was a reasonable suggestion, and all agreed. He sent them to a shepherd of Troy, whose name was Paris, because his mother had a lot of gall and had married a Frenchman. But each of the sneaky goddesses tried to outwit the others by going early and offering a bribe to Paris. Athena offered him heroic war victories, Hera offered him great wealth, and Aphrodite offered him the most beautiful woman on earth. Being a healthy young Trojan lad, Paris promptly accepted Aphrodite's bribe, and she got the apple, and he got screwed. As she had promised, she maneuvered earthly happenings so that Paris could have Helen, the Helen, then living with her husband, Menelaus, king of Sparta. Anyway, everyone knows that the Trojan War followed when Sparta demanded their queen back, and that the Trojan War is said to be the first war among men. And so we suffer because of the original snub, and so a Discordian is to partake of no hot dog buns. Do you believe that? Remember, King Kong died for your sins. A reading from the Principia Discordia. It's the book of Eurasians and the Bible of Discordianism. Interesting stuff. Let's check out the Bitcoin news, the price, and the price. Bitcoin price bounce at 8.8K. Support shows traders keep buying the dip. Bitcoin price dropped below $9,000 for the second time this week, but traders continue to buy on each dip. Or is that dips continue to buy traders? Not sure. Within the last hour, Bitcoin price dropped below 9,000 to a daily low of 8,813. Since June 24th, Bitcoin price has been losing momentum while pinned below the 20-day moving average, and today's drop to 8,813 coincided with a surge in sell volume. As discussed previously, buyers have been keen to purchase every dip below 9,000, and today's drop brought the price near the edge of a key high-volume VPVR node at 8,800. If bears succeed in pushing the price below this level, the fledgling cryptocurrency could drop to the 200-day moving average at 8,325, but failure to find support at this moving average could see the price sink lower to the 7,400 or the 6,800 zone. 6,800? 68? Weekend correlations occur on thin trading volume. Investors are accustomed to mild pullbacks over weekends as trading volumes tend to thin. It's also possible that larger size traders are watching from the sidelines after yesterday's $1.06 billion Bitcoin futures and options expiry and the approaching monthly close next Tuesday. According to Cointelegraph contributor Marshall Peckman, the market is in a bit of a neutral zone after Friday's massive options expiry. In private comments, Peckman said, "The options expiry did not have a meaningful impact as most of the call options were aimed at 10,000 or higher. This event wiped out 67% of the previous day's $1.7 billion in open interest, including 70% of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and 50% at Deribit. The futures expiry had a slightly different story as CME traders rolled over, reopened at longer maturing most of the futures positions on June 25, leaving a mere 38 million for Friday's expiry. BitMed and Deribit open interest also remained unchanged after expiry, indicating that most positions were rolled over. But at OKEX, half of the 860 million futures contracts open interest matured. Overall, this indicates traders are unwilling to open new positions ahead of the weekend. Friday's financial markets negative performance might have spooked Bitcoin investors as the correlation between the S&P 500 and Bitcoin remains relatively high. Tesla needs the Bitcoin Lightning Network for its autonomous robo-taxi fleet. Sounds great. Let's not use the picture of the old Tesla to signify the new Tesla, though. That's not really fair. Ever since Tesla announced its plan for an autonomous robo-taxi ride-sharing network in April 29, clock ticking, the company propelled itself beyond just being a car manufacturer. With the announcement, Tesla indicated its willingness to be a pioneer, creating new markets and business models enabled by mind-bending futuristic technology only conceived of in science fiction. For the autonomous fleet to operate as designed, it should implement Bitcoin's Lightning Network as its primary payment rail, coordinating all activity for the fleet. Or they could just print their money, own money, and use that. That's what everyone else seems to do. Perfect storm can push Bitcoin market over 1 trillion, research reveals. Bitcoin traders and investors have long predicted the established financial service industry's eventual jump into cryptocurrency. Wall Street's highly anticipated institutional support for Bitcoin has so far failed to convincingly materialize, though recent moves from some of the world's biggest banks suggest it's coming, slowly but surely. Bitcoin turns bearish. Bitfinex whale reappears on Twitter. At Joe007 has reappeared on Twitter as Bitcoin looks to enter a new bear market. Okay. Joe007 had disabled his account when Bitcoin broke 10,000 in early May and looked set for a bull run. All right. That's really important. Bloomberg, Bitcoin, a caged bull, set for breakout, eyeing 13,000 resistance. According to Bloomberg, the narrowest ever Bollinger Band suggests that Bitcoin is consolidating for a major breakout. Bloomberg remains optimistic about Bitcoin as long as it stays above a key resistance level. That level is $6,500. According to Bloomberg, $6,500 to $13,000 is the critical range. Our graphic shows the upward sloping 260-day moving average on crypto and bands that roughly mark the 2019 high and 2020 low for guidance. By this measure, when Bitcoin exits its cage, about 13,000 is a good initial resistance target. Sustaining below the bottom band at around 6,500 would jeopardize the uptrend. Exciting Bitcoin news. The price of Bitcoin is still 9,156. A couple of days ago, it did dip all the way down to 88.55 before recovering to the current level. It looked like we were trading sideways for a while, but as you know, whenever anyone says that Bitcoin's trading sideways, it immediately starts doing something else. Check out the World Crypto Network audio podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and other places where podcasts are heard. Get your Bitcoin news and more with the World Crypto Network audio podcast. And check out worldcryptonetwork.store, where we've got the brand new Treasures Don't Float t-shirt, the World Crypto Network mug, Bitcoin Not Bombs, the original classic, now with a 2020 Bitcoin halving redesign by Davi Barker, and the World Crypto Network shirt. Check them out at worldcryptonetwork.store. And now, as the graphic says, Sunday is Big Book Day, and this is Sunday. Our first big book is Weird Al, the book. One of my favorite artists from the 80s and 90s and today. I used to have it on cassette, Weird Al's greatest hits. Bad, and then his album was called Even Worse. Of course, I had Bad as well. The book is full of great pictures. Here's Weird Al and some strange Weird Al clones. I don't know what's going on there. Of course, Weird Al doesn't just parody the music, he dresses up as well. I got to go to one of his concerts. There's Weird Al doing Smells Like Nirvana. That's a little foreshadowing there of other big books that we plan to show you today. But yeah, he also dresses up at the concerts. It's pretty amazing. Here's a picture of Live Al. This is funny because this is actually just what I was going for. I have a great shot of this that I took myself at the California State Fair, where you can see him in this bizarro Lady Gaga outfit and several of his other outfits here. The show is full of video clips and so that he can do costume changes. And it's really like a huge... It's like got everything. It's like a vaudeville. It's a variety show, right? It's not just a concert. It's like much more than that. Here's one of the early advertisements, probably during the Michael Jackson Eat It phase. Yankovic in concert. So pretty cool stuff. Here he is wearing all foil. Not sure if that's for the modern foil song, the parody he just did, or he just wanted to dress up in foil back in the day. It's funny stuff. It says, the band and I desperately try to find our inspiration in the recording studio in this still from The Complete Al. So The Complete Al was like a video series, I think. Here's he doing the Dare to Be Stupid classic, one of his very early songs. Look a gift horse in the mouth. Mashed potatoes could be your friend. Dun 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 dun. You could be a corporate achiever, or you could hang around the house and watch Leave It to Beaver. The future's up to you, so what you gonna do? Dare to be stupid, dare to be stupid. Stuff like that. Obviously, I know all the words. And I really think that Weird Al is important. I think that because I listened to Weird Al, I was exposed to almost every genre of music, from rap to country to techno to rap to everything. I mean, when he did Gangster's Paradise as Amish Paradise, that's Coolio, right? I mean, you're getting your Coolio fix. The camera won't focus, but I really think that great stuff. Back in the day, I used to listen to classical, jazz, and Weird Al. So Yeah, if you have kids today, I mean, Weird Al still makes music. He still parodies a lot of popular songs. He had some amazing success recently with his most recent album, and I think recent means 5 years ago now. But he had a different artist make a music video for each song on the album. Then he uploaded each music video to a different video sharing site. So he really got all over the internet, and he really brought a whole new group of fans into his music. And I think Weird Al's another thing like Mad Magazine, where everyone thinks it's popular or the most popular during their era. But really, he's popular the whole time. He's just somehow, through the magic of being able to parody these songs, having the intelligent lyrics, having the near perfect musical accompaniment, even in that one, You're Addicted to Love by Robert Palmer, turns out to be Addicted to Spuds. And they said, yeah, sure, you could parody it, but I'm the only one who plays that guitar bit. So the guy from the Robert Palmer album came in, played the guitar riff perfectly, and they put it in Addicted to Spuds. So it's pretty fun stuff like that. Here's Weird Al filming the video for Amish Paradise, a classic. Churning up some butter, raise the barn on Monday, soon I'll raise an udder. Think I'm pure and righteous, think I'm pure at heart. Well, you know, I'm a million times more humble than thou art. I'm the pious guy the little omelets want to be like, on my knees day and night, making points for the afterlife. So don't be lame, and don't be whiny, or else, my brother, I might have to get medieval on your hiney. Hilarious. I mean, and pitch perfect with the music. So yeah, I would listen to these more than I'd probably listen to the Coolio one. There's Weird Al's classic movie, UHF. If you haven't seen UHF, it's like a parody movie. He does a bunch of parodies of movies and TV shows and other things. They show him as a character with an overactive imagination. How great is that? Do you remember Imagination? Mr. Rogers used to talk about it. We used to go to the wonderful world of imagination, and we could escape this hellish reality we live in. But yeah, shout out to Weird Al. He's the best. This is called Weird Al the Book. I probably ordered it on Amazon. I probably paid like $15. Maybe I got it at the used bin at Barnes & Noble for like $10. That would be good. But I don't know. Weird Al's pretty great. I might have ordered it at some time. But that's not all. I also got Eminem, The Way I Am. And this is a really interesting book. The biggest rapper in history. As you can see, it's in a very weird red cover. It's actually a slip cover. So check this out. If you slip it off, Eminem has written all over himself, or someone has, a graphic art person, written all over words from his diaries and his journals on his face in red. The back of the book is also covered with red. How cool is this? A red clear plastic slip cover, so that you could do that on the front. Also a big fan of Eminem. Here's several of his notebooks where he works on writing lyrics. Also several of his remembrances of his friends that he's lost and how important they were to his career. Especially, I think his name is Big Mike. I'm not sure. But Eminem had this fantastic friend that he lost. And that really set him on the path towards this focus on rapping and getting out. I think one of the most important things about Eminem is to understand that he's not just rhyming at the end of the line, but he's rhyming inside of the line as well. And that really takes him to a higher level as a poet, as a rapper, as a musician, all of these things. He's much more than just like offending people for offending people's sake or something like that. There's very much going on in these lyrics. And it's got pictures of his old neighborhood and where he grew up and stuff like that. I've actually read this one. It wasn't that hard to read. There's a lot of giant picture pages like this that are, pretty much you can skip, but you read them, they're really fast. But very cool big book by Eminem. Lots of cool pictures of him with everybody. Dr. Dre, all the people that he worked with. It's a polished piece. It's not like a critical biography that looks like Eminem's office. All of his posters of his past triumphs His artist there, 50 Cent in the middle. Very cool. He says right here on the side, the entire industry has changed, and I have no idea where it's going. People are always going to want music. No, they're always going to need music, which means whether as an MC, a producer, or who knows, making movie soundtracks. Whether I'm someone's favorite rapper or not, whether I've thought of as one of the best, one of the most half-assed, whatever it is, I'm one of the most personal rappers. That is why people relate to me, because people feel like I show so much of myself. That's why random people like taxi drivers call me Marshall. And the reason I put so much of myself out there in the first place is because I had no idea I was going to be so famous. I had no idea. No fucking clue. If I had to do it again, I don't know if I would. I'm glad, though, that my music has brought people together. It's an interesting kind of a reference and a point there. Reminds me a lot of course, he's on this bookshelf here. That book might fall over and crush my Legos, so I'm taking a chance. But it reminds me, of course, Howard Stern. In Howard Stern's movie Private Parts, he talked a lot about this desire to share more of himself with the audience, and that he wasn't being honest enough and true enough, and that when he made that connection, when he stopped being a radio voice and he stopped being a, hey, number 5 with a record, and here's the next record, and all that kind of radio DJ thing, and he became this Howard Stern talking on the radio, telling his truth, telling his jokes, that kind of thing. That's where he really found his success. So it's interesting to see the same thing echoed here by Eminem, that in the same way, he told the truth about his reality, all of his songs, talking about 8 Mile, talking about the ghetto, troubles with his mother, troubles with his wife, later girlfriend, or girlfriend, wife, whatever, all that stuff. Drug troubles, friend troubles, violence, all of those things. He overcame all that. Trying to put the slipcover back on. It's not cooperating. But he overcame all that. And part of it is of his success, like he says, is because he spoke his truth. And they always say, write about what you know. And that's what I think Eminem did. So check out this really cool book, The Way I Am, by Eminem. I don't know if there's like new printings or what, but my version has a really sweet slipcover. So cool, huh? Big Book Sunday. I've also got Kurt Cobain's journals. It's not a hardback, it's just a paperback, but it kind of looks like a notebook, like a Mead spiral notebook. Might have been an original cover here. If you read, you'll judge. Reward if found. K. Cobain. And I've read this, and I marked it up. And it's very interesting journals. The main thing that I get that I didn't know from the outside, it reminds me of the song lyrics from Pennyroyal Tea. Kurt Cobain had serious stomach problems. He had ulcers. He had trouble. He was always trying to fix it. He was always trying to make it better. He might have even gotten hooked on heroin to try to beat his stomach problems. And in the end, I think that's what killed him. It made him go mad. Let's see. John Lennon has been my idol all of my life, but he's dead wrong about revolution. Sit on your ass and be beaten. Bullshit. Arm yourself. Find a representative of gluttony or oppression and blow the motherfucker's head off. Interesting thoughts. Manifestos with ideas, contacts, recruits, go public, risk jail or assassination. Get employed by the target so it's easier to infiltrate the system. Slowly vet the mechanics of the empire. I'm sorry, it's hard to read. But there's a very interesting section from Cobain's journals comparing himself to John Lennon, talking about John Lennon as an idol, and yet at the same time disagreeing with John Lennon's pacifism. Cobain certainly not advocating violence. This is not a public statement. I'm not advocating violence here. Neither was Cobain. And these are private journals. He's been dead for 20, 30 years now. But It's very interesting stuff. You really get an inside, like an idea of what someone's thinking by reading their private journals. And that's another reason why I buy all these letter books. A lot of these right here, like this is Jack Kerouac's letters from 1940 to 1956. Now, I don't know Jack Kerouac. I mean, I love On the Road, and I read 4 or 5 of his other books. But, I really get to know him through these letters. I get a chance at it. I know I got 2 books of Hunter S. Thompson letters up here, and I read them both cover to cover. So it's really interesting, these letters books, and it's one of the things I was so bummed about is that there aren't going to be any more of these letters books. No one writes letters. Even email, mine's all garbage and receipts now. I can't remember the last time I got an email from a human being writing me a little story about their life or something. Sometimes you get a nice Facebook message, sometimes a telegram, and maybe they can combine those into a letters book. Maybe the chat logs of Thomas Hunt will be popular someday, but God, I hope not. And that's probably what they think about these letters. Except for Thompson, Maniac Thompson, he always wrote his letters on carbon paper. So even when he typed them, he would have just stacks and stacks of carbon paper. He would send one of them, and then he would keep the rest. So he always had a copy of his letters, so you can actually reconstruct both sides of them. It's pretty cool stuff. And of course, Thompson's letters are great. They're full of him complaining and writing angry letters to people about their products and cursing people out for their appearances on TV and things like that. He's just all over it. Let's see. Here's another one. Might need my trusty flashlight. It's a little dark over here. I wish there was someone I could ask for advice. Someone who wouldn't make me feel like a creep for spilling my guts and trying to explain all the insecurities that have plagued me for about 25 years now. I wish someone could explain to me why exactly I have no desire to learn anymore. Why I wed to have so much energy and then the need to search for miles and weeks for anything new and different. Excitement. I was once a magnet for attracting new offbeat personalities who would introduce me to music and books, and the most obscure, I would soak it into my system like a rabid, sex-crazed junkie, hyperactive, mentally retarded toddler who had just had his first taste of sugar. This week's obsession: vagina medical books, the meat puppets, and he trails off. Interesting little side note, Cobain wishes that he had someone he could ask for advice, and he seems to be experiencing the troubles of fame here, as he can no longer find those weird people who would introduce him to books and music and movies and things. And I agree with him. It's a good thing to be a magnet to those people. I often get great recommendations. The other day, someone sent me a music video. It was all about the internet, and it was full of jokes, and it was fantastic. And I sent them back a music video that was all about the internet. It was full of jokes. And, we're bonding. We're getting along. And it's sad that Cobain felt so isolated and that he didn't have that. Oh, this is pretty interesting. This ties into our previous book. It looks like he might be making notes here to talk about something else, or it's going to be a news article of some kind, he says. Gee, I guess what I'm trying to say is theory is a waste of time. Dorian modes are technically anal boys with bad values. Make up your own music. Eric Clapton plays second-rate dusty blues licks. Too much practice is like too much sugar. Weird Al Yankovic is a musical modern pop rock genius. Do your own thing. Others own their own thing. You'll find yourself in late-night cocktail lounge cover band limbo. P.S. Come As You Are is the same song. Cobain could have written a little more clearly, Come As You Are is the same as a song called The Cygnes by Killing Joyce, and Teen Spirit has an uncanny resemblance to Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult, and the cult one, AC/DC. The guitar has 12 notes. The guitar is based on mathematics. Rock and roll has been around for over 30 years. And when you're working with a standard 4x4 rock time signature rhythm, the limitations, so consider this music book as something to own like a bottle cap collection, or baseball cards, or a family photo album, or an example of just exactly how not to brighten your musical capabilities. Happy motoring. Love, Kurt. So it looks like he might have been writing an introduction to a music book there, or maybe having plans to write his own music book. I just think it's very great that he happened to mention Weird Al, and that we just talked about Weird Al. Of course, the famous story about Kurt Cobain is that Weird Al called him to get permission for his song Smells Like Teen Spirit. Kurt Cobain agreed. He thought it was hilarious. And he later publicly said, "Now that we've been parodied by Weird Al, we've made it." Right? This was their sign of breaking through. Excuse me. All the gold albums, all the success, it didn't really hit him until Weird Al parodied his song. And he did it so well, he even made a great music video about it. I've got one more big book to show you today. We're loading up on the big books. We're trying to put some space between ourselves and the news. You don't want to know what's in the news. You don't want to know. We're so much better off talking about big books. So here's our last book for today. It's Nirvana, the Day-to-Day Illustrated Journals. And this is a good companion piece for the other book about Kurt Cobain's journals. It's got them all typed up, easy to read, with some graphics. So it's very cool to have both of these books. Wow. Okay, so this is pretty weird. I randomly picked almost the same, or he's just expressing the same thing. Oh, they're talking about the release of the single for "Come As You Are," which we were just talking about. February 24th, 1992, Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love are married in Waikiki. Interesting stuff. The Grammy Awards. Nirvana loses out to R.E.M's Out of Time for the Best Alternative Music Album. And Nirvana was asked to perform on the show, but they said it wasn't possible, so that was for the Grammy. That's kind of neat, too. R.E.M's Out of Time is really one of my favorite albums. R.E.M's definitely my favorite group. And Kurt Cobain was good friends with Michael Stipe from R.E.M. And they were also good friends with River Phoenix. And River Phoenix passed away, overdose. And then Kurt Cobain passed away, suicide, overdose, murder, whatever you want to say. And gosh, it really affected Michael Stipe. You can hear it on the Monster album. The loud guitars, R.E.M. abandoning the acoustics and the mandolins, really breaking it up with some loud guitars. And a lot of it, and several of the songs are dedicated to Kurt and his loss. So, we had some music big books for you today. We showed you Nirvana, the Day-to-Day Illustrated Journals. Everything else fell on the floor here. Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, the journals, just straight up from his own hand. Experience it. Showed you guys Eminem, The Way I Am, with its awesome 3D red light slipcover. How cool is that? It's like I used to have toys in the 80s. You'd hover the red thing over it and it would decode whatever the secret message was. So same idea here for Eminem's book. And finally, Weird Al, the book. Really, Weird Al is great. If you have kids and you're having trouble with them listening to music, maybe they're not exploring other genres of music, give them some Weird Al, especially the new one. It's got all the new songs and new tracks. It's great stuff. All right, we're going to try to cover the news, but there's really two main things that are happening today that we're going to talk about over and over again. The continuing Russia story. I know there's a lot of people in the comments that don't believe it, and I think it's hilarious, and I hope it's not true. But it started out, the New York Times wrote a story saying that Russia had paid and offered bounties for Afghanistan militants to kill Americans, to kill American soldiers. So Russia had put bounties and paid bounties on American soldiers' heads. New York Times. It was later confirmed by the Washington Post. At this point, it's been confirmed by the British newspapers. It's also been confirmed by Fox News and MNBC News. So the question then is, was the president briefed on this? They say in March that the president was briefed. Naturally, you'd assume he'd be briefed. This is big information. They also say the president was handed a menu of options, a large option, a small option, a medium option. And the president chose off the menu. He chose the do nothing option. So we did nothing. We've been told that maybe just a few weeks ago, Boris Johnson, British Prime Minister, was briefed on this. Again, meaning how could it be possible that Trump and Pence would not be briefed if Boris was briefed? The official response from Trump is that they were not briefed, which is a big problem because that means that the intelligence isn't getting through, or the intelligence community doesn't trust Trump, or the intelligence community is rogue, or one of those things. But it's a lot more likely that they're lying about not being briefed, which is, again, the worst kind of lie. Never lie when there's a paper trail that can easily back it up and prove you wrong. Maybe you're just a compulsive liar and you can't control it. But if you have any control over your ability to lie at all, which is not a great thing, you shouldn't lie. It's good to have control over it, but it's not great to do it. But yeah, you wouldn't lie like that because it's obviously going to come out. The other problem is they haven't denied the source. They haven't denied the evidence. At the press briefing, the press secretary basically said that it was probably true, but then they hadn't been briefed, which means were they briefed yesterday? And which means what are they doing about it now? And sadly, President Trump is golfing today in Virginia. It was raining in New Jersey, so that's why he came home from there back to the White House, where he could easily golf in Virginia. He's golfing with Senator Lindsey Graham, who was a member of the U.S. Navy. He was a member of the JAG, the Justice, whatever it's called. It's the Justice part of the Navy and stuff. It's where the lawyers work. Judge Advocate General. And, he used to be a big patriot. He used to be a friend of John McCain. But now he golfs with the president. So the question now is, what are we doing about Russia giving out bounties to kill American soldiers? And it turns out we're going golfing. So that's a big story. We're going to talk about that a lot. And then we're also going to talk about how the president this morning, before he went golfing, got out some great tweets. He retweeted one of them. It's a picture it's a video with these people from Florida. And in the first 8 seconds, the Trump supporter from Florida chants white power over and over again. So the president retweeted someone chanting white power. Welcome to Sunday morning. Now you see why I don't want to do the news. Anyway, we're going to do the news. Even if you guys don't believe in it, we're going to keep doing it because it just keeps coming true. Remember a few weeks ago, you didn't believe there'd be a second wave of coronavirus. You thought reopening was a great idea. Look where we are now. And we've got more bad news. Actual coronavirus infections are vastly undercounted. The prevalence of infections is more than 10 times higher than the counted number of cases in the United States. So once again, don't disrespect this virus. It's spreading at a rate 10 times higher than we thought, according to the Center for Disease Control, an agency that used to serve the U.S. people, but disappeared lately. Las Vegas news. Per release, the Culinary Union is filing lawsuit alleging casino hotels have not protected workers, families, and community from the spread of COVID-19. Current rules and procedures for responding to workers contracting COVID-19 have been wholly and dangerously inadequate, and I predict that they will win. I predict that the culinary unions will shut down the casinos because the casinos reopened too early, refused to require their guests to wear masks, thus making all of their staff vulnerable, You can see all the early pictures. The staff is doing a really good job. All of the dealers, all of the cleaning people, all of the cashiers, everybody's wearing their masks, preventing the spread of the virus. All the guests are not wearing masks. They made it optional. They made it a choice, and they endangered their workers, and they'll have to pay. A very strange story saying that the president is a civilian or he's not a civilian. As we know, the president is the civilian head of the military. The president is not part of the military. I didn't think we had to explain this. Stone Kettle says, the president is an effing civilian. He is not subject to the U.S. military code of justice. True. Let's just keep moving. Trump canceled his trip to New Jersey to ensure law and order is enforced. But he just arrived at his Virginia golf club. It's the 271st time he's been at one of his golf clubs and the 363rd time at one of his properties in his presidency. The taxpayers pay for that every single time. Remember President Obama? He used to golf at military golf courses, which cost the taxpayers much less money and didn't enrich himself. Remember when Obama used to go to the Obama country clubs to play golf in his resort casinos so that the taxpayers would have to pay him money? No, I don't remember that either, because it didn't fucking happen. Florida sets another one-day record with 9,585 new coronavirus cases. Great job, Florida. Way to reopen too soon and ignore the numbers. You will all be held liable for this later, because we're going to have the numbers, we're going to have your emails, we're going to have your texts. Florida governor dangerously exposed his people to this virus over the objection of scientists and doctors. He thought he knew more. I know, it's hilarious. Stone Kettle says, we should require our entire elected government be immediately infected with the virus and then denied any health care. Not even so much as an effing Band-Aid until they get this thing under control. See if maybe that provides sufficient motivation. Here's another scene in Portland where the police are rioting and assaulting people left and right. Here's a policeman beating a protester, knocking him to the ground with his now attacking with his club. Another protester tries to defend. She's attacked. Other protesters are attacked. Violent police in the United States continue to attack protesters. Look at the superior weapons of the police. Look at all the clubs and the big shields. Again, it's a military state in the United States, in Portland, Oregon. Look at them just chasing and pushing down innocent Americans. It's like a ballet of horror. Las Vegas' most powerful union, the Culinary 226, is suing the casinos for not protecting workers. Rumor has it that they also threatened to stage mass sick-outs to cripple the resorts and possibly even force them to close. Casinos versus culinary unions, casinos to lose. In Ferguson, 70% of the community is black. They have a black mayor, a black police chief. 3 of the 5 city council members are black. All hold their position because of Black Lives Matter and the previous murder that occurred in Ferguson. Yet still, this happened. They painted on the streets Black Lives Matter, as they have in other places. But in Ferguson, they painted over it. Shit, you can see. Here you can see right here. There's the previous sign, Black Lives Matter, written in the street. Doesn't really hurt anybody, doesn't bother anybody. You know, it's like really nice graffiti. But they painted over it. So it doesn't matter who's leading your government if they don't understand or believe in your cause. A 60 Minutes investigation reveals that Trump knowingly allowed flawed COVID-19 antibody tests to circulate, leading to inaccurate data about the virus spread, creating data to support the reopenings, and potentially causing thousands more preventable deaths. As I've been saying, there's a paper trail on all of this. We're going to find out. And this right here, just to make it clear, they had flawed antibody tests that led to inaccurate data that created good data to allow them to support the reopenings. So these reopenings were caused by bad data that they intentionally created. Trump is responsible for all of the deaths from the early reopenings, from the new outbreak. As Tom Hartman says, holy crap. First, Trump ignores the murder of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, then oversees the death of 100,000 Americans here. Does he just revel in the death of Americans? And why aren't GOP senators demanding investigations? This is far worse than Benghazi or Ivanka's emails. Then yesterday, somebody on the radio, I think it was me, told me to watch Jaws. And boy, were they right. You can see here I'm picking Jaws out of the Blu-ray collection. Got into Blu-rays a couple of years ago. Apparently they're really cheap now. No one wants them. But they have fantastic picture quality and sound. And the movie never cuts off in the middle. It just plays. So we're going to have some more Jaws live tweeting coming up to spice up this show. If you haven't seen Jaws, please go watch Jaws. It's not a garbage movie. I know you think Jaws 2, Jaws 3, Jaws 4, whatever it is. Yeah, they're garbage. And they bring down the original. But if you watch this original, Steven Spielberg does such a good job, and it's an early film. I'm sure everyone knows, the shark was broken. They couldn't use the shark for most of the picture. So a lot of the times they just get away with silhouettes and other scary things that are actually much more scary than the fake shark. Also, there's a lot of silence in the film. The main thing that I think you should notice, of course, there's the Hitchcock references. It's practically a remake of Vertigo, but it's the ocean. And Roy Schneider, the lead character, Brody, I think it is. Yeah, he's the police chief, Martin Brody. It's funny because Mallrats, Kevin Smith liked Jaws so much he named all his characters after Jaws, so I think of them as Mallrats characters. But Chief Brody's afraid of the water. Chief Brody is afraid of the ocean. And just like Hitchcock would do, in almost every scene, Spielberg surrounds Brody with the ocean. In the very early scenes, he's safe at home in his house with his wife. They're having a sweet time. But he has all these wall-to-wall windows, and they live right on the water. And in almost all the scenes, the ocean, the monster, is coming in through the windows. There's even a couple of times right in the first couple of deaths where he just stops and he stares out at the water. And you can tell that he's looking at the water as an enemy. And he's looking at the water as a monster. And as much as Jaws, the shark is a monster and it's a shark attack movie and that kind of thing, it's about his fear of water. It's about this phobia that he has. And it's about him overcoming that phobia, being strong enough to kill the shark, all that kind of thing. But it's so much about that phobia. I also was really impressed. Spoiler alert. You should have seen Jaws by now. But the way they ended it was just so clean. They did, you know how at Die Hard, they have 3 different endings. It's he hugs the one guy, then he hugs the girl, then he kisses the girl, and he talks to the chief, and he kisses the girl again, and the movie ends. There's ending, and it's very satisfying. I like a good ending. But Jaws, Spielberg just knows the beats of the movie so well. He knows that, the end of the shark, sorry, spoilers, but the end of the shark is the movie. And that the emotional, everything that you're wound up in, all the fear and everything, that goes away when he kills the shark at the end. And so he doesn't show him with a wife. He doesn't show him hugging the kids. There's no scene with the town and everybody claps. There's a couple of cute scenes with Dreyfus, and they're very much homage to Casablanca, 2 characters walking away, trading a couple of lines, except they're swimming away. And it's just this shot of them swimming back to the beach. And if you watch throughout the whole credits, and there's not that many credits, they do most of them at the beginning. If you watch through the whole credits, at the end, Schneider and Dreyfus get to the beach. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. They're far away. It's not about them. It's not about the community or the wife or the kids or the clapping mayor or anything. it was about the shark. So yeah, Jaws is a great movie. Whether you got it on Blu-ray or just streaming or downloads or whatever you want, get Jaws. It's great stuff. And the music's incredible. And of course, throughout my tweets, I'll be making coronavirus references because Jaws also ties up very nicely into the coronavirus. I think you'll see it if you watch it. But if you keep watching this show, I'm going to outline it for you. So if you've already seen Jaws, you're set up. Let's check it out here. Christopher Bouzet says, states need to pass laws making it a crime to deliberately cough in someone's face. People have died because someone willingly coughed or spit into their face. Also, companies should fire anyone caught on camera doing this. Let's see what this Karen did. I think she's going to cough in someone's face.
Do you post it for you? How about that?
Oh.
Good. I think I'll get real close to you and cough on you then. How's that? Asshole. Let's go.
Wow. What a thing to go up and cough on someone to try to make them sick. Probably because they told her to wear a mask in the store. It's tough to say on this one, but crazy stuff. These videos keep popping up. People think that they're right, give them the right to make other people sick. I think the libertarians would disagree with that. I think it's the non-aggression principle. There it is. I remembered it. The non-aggression principle. When this lady comes over here and coughs on him, that's very aggressive. That's very much violating his space. Here's our first shot from Jaws. Are you trying to close down the beach? Amity is a summer town. It's called Amity. I spelled it wrong. But check out this shot here. Again, the Hitchcock influence. We see the dock over there. We're on a ferry. We're going away from the dock. Here's the mayor wearing his Navy anchor suit. Pretty impressive. But look at this guy in the background. Look at how Spielberg, same thing as Hitchcock in this movie though, he's using multiple fields of focus. These guys are in focus. This guy's in focus. The dock's in focus. It's not that clear here. It's a screenshot. But amazing framing. Again, the Hitchcock nature of it. Multiple things happen. And yes, this guy in the background is intended to be creepy. The mayor's hanger-on, his city council, his other members, they are the people telling him not to close the beach. So yes, it's intentionally put into the background. This is intentional framing. Spielberg, above and beyond in this picture. You see, he knew there was a shark, but he let people go back in the water. Jaws, coronavirus. See, it's the same thing. We reopen too fast. Even after the kid is dead, they don't want to close the beaches. After all, it wasn't their kid. And maybe you're having a hard time understanding the coronavirus because you haven't lost a family member or a relative to it yet. Just imagine that it was your grandma. Just imagine that it was your girlfriend, that it was your friend, that it was your boyfriend, that it was your neighbor that died of the virus. And then try to understand it through their shoes, through their family's shoes, through their friends' shoes. And think about it as if it could be you. That's growth. The marine biologist shows up, Dreyfus, tells them not to overload the boat. They mock him and won't recommend a good restaurant or hotel in town. He laughs and says, they're all going to die. Jaws, coronavirus. Again, the scientists come. There's like 12 people on a boat made for 5. He tells them, hey, science says you're going to sink your boat. And then, the shark's going to eat you, right? They laugh at the scientist. They mock him. He jokes back at them asking for a recommendation for a restaurant or hotel. He's kidding. But they won't even give him one. They say, just walk straight. He laughs and says they're all going to die. The person with the knowledge knows. He even tries to warn them. He even tries to take, time out of his day, stop what he's doing, listening to the chief, doing what the chief says, try to save those idiots. And then he just shrugs. He just shrugs it off and walks away. They're all going to die. Coronavirus. Here's a great shot from the film. Everything is fine. They caught the shark. Time to reopen. And the whole time you can see Dreyfus. He's looking away from the camera, but the scientist, the marine biologist right here, He's already measuring the mouth of the shark, and he knows it's not big enough. Later on, they cut open the belly of the shark, and they don't find any human parts at all. It wasn't the right shark. More bad news. There's a radioactive hike in Northern Europe. They think it's possible that Bulgaria or one of the other former Soviet satellites is running a nuclear reactor or something like that. No one knows. This is another horrible story to put in your mind with the Siberia overheating because of global warming and everything else that's happening right now. But there's just too much. Oh, here we go. This is something positive. There's nothing wrong with this. This is really cool stuff. This is TikTok's creepy. Don't use TikTok. Maybe we'll talk more about that. But Apple yesterday found that they were stealing your clipboard, and someone did a more detailed analysis, and they're stealing a lot more than your clipboard. TikTok is a dangerous Chinese cyber spying program. But it makes nice videos like this. Let's check this out. This guy's doing some bowling. Or maybe we'll have some volume. Why not? He did it. He knocked them both down. How cool was that? Oh, what a great tension breaker and distraction. I've almost forgot about the president's treason to the United States. Oh, no, wait. Fox News has confirmed that the White House has known this since earlier this spring, that Russia put bounties on U.S. troops. Trump was inviting Russia to the G7 as of June 3rd. I believe the penalty for this is far worse than prison. That's right, the penalty for treason is death. Back to Jaws. You knew there was a shark out there. You knew it was dangerous, but you allowed people to swim anyway. Just like the virus. They even faked those antibody tests so that you would go reopen earlier. They tricked you. You told me they caught the shark. You told me it was safe. I saw it on the news. And about the shark or the virus, he is going to continue to feed here as long as there is food in the water. And that's why we have to stay inside, and that's why we have to wear masks. We can't allow the virus to continue to feed. If we do, it's going to destroy everything. As they say here, we depend on these summer people for our lives. We can't close the beaches. We can't close the economy. But how are we going to stop the virus if we don't do that? In the middle of all of this, when he doesn't want the beaches closed, he wants the vandals caught. Sick vandalism. I want these hoodlums caught. A problem of priorities. Just as during the Black Lives Matter protests, Trump is not concerned about black lives and all of the murders by police and the attacks by police. He's concerned about the statues. He's concerned about the sick vandalism. Obviously, this man in the suit is a stand-in for Trump in the film. Those beaches will be open this weekend. All right, we'll see what happens. They're bringing a cruise ship full of people to the island. This seems safe. Especially another reference to coronavirus. Remember, the cruise ships were heavily affected by coronavirus and spread the virus to almost everyone on board. This guy didn't want to go swimming, but the mayor, with his fantastic hair, came over and convinced him. Trust this guy. You can go swimming. It does look like someone we know. They caught the shark. Beaches are open. Amity means friendship. That's a slick-looking fella right there. I'll bet you could trust him. He'll tell you the truth. Price of Bitcoin was down 2.7% the other day. Right now it's back at 9,189. So wild times. Who can tell which direction it's going? What are you talking about? Summer is over. You're the mayor of Shark City. Again, trying to break through to the president that the virus has taken over and that the virus is not political. The virus didn't destroy his summer just because they don't like him. The virus just kills for fun. It kills. It's a virus. It's what it does. It's not emotional about it. You're the mayor of Shark City. The press secretary now claims that neither Trump nor Pence were briefed on the alleged Russian bounty intelligence, first reported by the New York Times. Christopher Bouzet says, within a week, there will be proof that both were briefed on the matter. Defund the executive branch until Trump resigns. Of course, if the Trump and Pence were not briefed, this raises the obvious and very serious question. The United States had intelligence that Russia was paying militants to kill U.S. and allied troops, and officials decided not to tell the president or vice president about it? That seems even less likely. As Stone Kettle says, let's say this was actually true. This would be even bigger news. I mean, the intelligence community withheld critical information from the president? Why? Because they knew he would betray method and means to the Russians? Because they don't trust him? It's a bigger problem right there. We've got another report from Trump's rally in Tulsa, the super spreader event where he attempted to spread the virus and kill more Americans, this time in Tulsa. Workers removed thousands of social distancing stickers before Trump's Tulsa rally. According to video you can watch in the video, they go seat by seat, removing the stickers, which, if left in place, if the people had social distanced, they could have been safer. There was lots of room in the rally. They could have spread them out on the floor. They could have spread them out in the seats. It might have even looked better on camera, and it would have been social distance. Of course, they also had another rally space outside. They thought there would be an overflow crowd. When they found out that there was a less crowd, they could have moved everyone outside and used the overflow stage, allowing for social distancing and the benefit of outside air, not having to put people into security checkpoints and small hallways right next to each other, in and out, spreading the virus. But they didn't do that. They chose not to protect their fans. They chose not to protect their supporters. And several members of the Secret Service got sick, as well as several members of the Trump advance team. They didn't have to. Brands continued to pull ads from Facebook over hate speech. Zay Frank, who used to do a great daily show, a show with Zay Frank, says, it's more than hate speech. It's creating a targeted ad platform that uses your data to suppress voting and incite violence, and not take responsibility for it. Zuckerberg's open platform defense gets weaker by the day. There's a showdown in London over Huawei. Lords plan to scupper the 5G deal over human rights abuses. Previously, they'd attempted to convince England to not let the Chinese company make their 5G network because of the obvious problems of a Chinese company spying on everyone in Britain, spying on your secret activities, and so on and so forth. But now, perhaps because of human rights abuses, they're going to get rid of the deal. Trump campaign is postponing Vice President Mike Pence's campaign events in Arizona and Florida out of an abundance of caution amid a surge in coronavirus cases. But he's traveling again today, going to another location to campaign. He didn't really stop. Ken Hodler writes, refusing to wear a mask is dangerous. Refusing to wear a mask for political reasons is stupid. Claiming protection under the Americans for Disabilities Act to make a political point is disgusting. Wear a damn mask. There are only 3 possibilities here, says Lisa Page. It was in the president's daily briefing, or briefed to him, but he didn't bother to read or listen. The NSC/CIA deliberately kept it from him, or he knew and he didn't care because he wants to have a good relationship with a murderous autocrat. Pick your poison. It's got to be one of those. Nurses attempt to occupy a closed hospital in Philadelphia and turn it into a free clinic. Police responded with a SWAT team and forcibly dismantled it in order to protect an empty building in the middle of a global pandemic. And we talked about this earlier in the coronavirus crisis. There's a brand new hospital in Philadelphia that's completely abandoned. All the rooms are there, everything's there. You could just roll in, set it up as a hospital, start helping people, which is what they did. The nurses did the right thing here. They tried to use some of the buildings and equipment around them to improve people's lives and to help sick people. The police responded with a SWAT team and forcibly destroyed the makeshift hospital. If we are to believe that Trump had not been briefed on the Russia news in the New York Times report, as the press secretary claims, what explains his silence now? He has had time to golf and time to tweet. Why is he still silent on the matter? That's a puzzler. So let me get this straight. Robert Reich says, Trump decried governors for locking down their states to prevent the spread of a deadly virus, but he's silent on Vladimir Putin putting a bounty on American troops? The silence is deafening. He's golfing today. Interesting story here. Joe Biden is under pressure to pick a black woman as his vice presidential running mate, but polls suggest the most popular prospect among black Democrats is Elizabeth Warren. Interesting. Maybe they just want to win too. I just want to win. Trump, most Republicans silent about reports Russia paid Taliban to kill U.S. troops. Why? Why can't they say anything? Malcolm Nance, formerly with the CIA, says, stop this lie. There is a special, top-secret, flash critical communication system designed strictly to get imminent threat intelligence reports into the president's hands in 10 minutes or less, 24/7, 365, from the second it was recognized. He was briefed. Did he care? Likely a no. They're writing now to the temporary director of national intelligence who has no experience, Richard Grenell. Did you really tell Donald Trump and Vice President Pence that Russia was paying militants to kill U.S. troops? Or is the press secretary lying? It's pretty clear. Ted Lieu, candidate for the U.S. House. Ben Rhodes writes, in addition to being almost certainly a lie, the idea that Trump wouldn't be briefed on Russia putting a bounty on U.S. troops is even crazier than him being briefed and doing nothing. Amy Siskind writes, okay, Trump, calling you on your lie. You know now for sure that Russia put a bounty on U.S. soldiers' heads. What are you planning to do about it? He went golfing. You know how other people work on weekends? He just went golfing because it's a weekend. He's the president. Covey agrees here. He says, okay, let's say we believe McKinney when she said Trump was not briefed on Russia's plan to kill American troops. That would mean he found out yesterday and responded to that news by going golfing. It's a pretty bad look. I don't know how you can defend it. Joe Biden rips Trump on Russia troop news. Trump's presidency has been a gift to Putin, but this is beyond the pale. It's betrayal of the most sacred duty we bear as a nation to protect and equip our troops when we send them into harm's way. And here's Joe Biden saying what I just said. Let's check it out. This is what a real president looks like. When your country is attacked, you say something about it.
Egregious violation of international law. Donald Trump has continued his embarrassing campaign of deference and debasing himself before Vladimir Putin. He has this information according to the Times, and yet he offered to host Putin in the United States and sought to invite Russia to rejoin the G7. His entire presidency has been a gift to Putin, but this is beyond the pale. It's a betrayal of the most sacred duty we bear as a nation, to protect and equip our troops when we send them into harm's way. Egregious violation of international law.
Powerful speech by former Vice President Joe Biden. He would have been briefed instantaneously. It would have been in the materials sent to him, and it would have been discussed with him. David Gergen calls into question the White House claim that Trump and Pence weren't briefed on Russia offering a bounty to the Taliban to kill U.S. troops. David Rothkopf writes, if Trump acts like a Russian asset, does all the things a Russian asset would do, places Russian interests above U.S. interests, defends Russian intelligence above U.S. intelligence, provides classified information to Russians, helps Russia achieve its goals, then he's a Russian asset. All kidding aside, the House must impeach Trump again before the election. American soldiers were killed, and instead of Trump doing something about it, anything about it, he attempted unilaterally to invite Putin to the G7. Michael Weiss writes, a Western intelligence source has told me that the intelligence on GRU Unit 29155 offering the Taliban money to kill U.S. or British soldiers is correct. Multiple confirmations from multiple sources now. Christopher Bouzet is calling for a complete and total shutdown of Trump's presidency until our country's lawmakers can figure out what the hell is going on. Remember, this news broke on Friday. All good news breaks on Friday. Take out the trash day. Saturday, he went golfing, did nothing. Sunday, he's going golfing. He's doing nothing. Monday, he'll be back in the office, I assume, and so will everybody else. We'll see if that changes anything. Good news out of Mississippi, pretty shocking, but it's the way things are heading this way. 36-14, the Mississippi Senate approves changing the Mississippi state flag. So that's great news to get rid of the Confederate battle flag that's part of the Mississippi flag. I'm not sure who these 14 people are voting for the Confederate flag. I'd like to see a list of their names, and I'm sure that they'll publish one in advertisements soon. The virus does not give a fuck about your constitutional rights, dumbass. Pence has said Friday that campaign events would continue despite an acknowledged rise in cases in the Sun Belt because freedom of speech and free assembly are constitutional rights. So is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and the Declaration of Independence. He even says life first. Life is the first thing. A brand new advertisement from the Lincoln Project. They're so fast on these. It's already about Trump and the bounties, what they're now calling Bounty Gate. Let's watch.
In the last year, flag-draped coffins have returned from Afghanistan. Now we know Vladimir Putin pays a bounty for the murder of American soldiers. Donald Trump knows too, and does nothing. Putin pays the Taliban cash to slaughter our men and women in uniform. And Trump is silent, weak, controlled. Instead of condemnation, he insists Russia be treated as our equal. Instead of retaliation, he invites Putin to America. When Trump tells you he stands by the troops, he's right. Just not our troops.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So good and so fast, too. I don't think I could have done it better myself. Scott Dworkin writes, Trump should be arrested for treason. I'm serious. Juliet Jeske says, our president is perfectly fine with Putin paying bounties on dead U.S. soldiers? How do these idiots still support him? He does not care if we live or die. He just wants us to praise him and then play golf. Our president is a traitor. Pence knew. Trump knew. They all knew. Here's a good distraction. If you went to the Las Vegas airport recently, they gave you a face mask. They've got a new campaign, no mask, no dice. They sent some of the showgirls, some of the people from the Venetian down there. Let's check out what would have greeted you if you went to the Las Vegas airport in the last couple of days.
Well, Vegas knows how to razzle-dazzle. The mask policy rolled out in true Vegas fashion at the airport. Showgirls, even a gondolier, welcomed passengers to the city with a message: no mask, no dice. The governor's directive officially began about 10 hours ago, requiring everyone to mask up.
Thanks to Fox News 5 in Las Vegas for the voiceover there. Christopher Bouzet says, if I were Joe Biden, I would announce a major primetime speech and hit Donald Trump hard on Bountygate. I would point out how Trump threatened to use American soldiers on American citizens and tear-gassed peaceful protesters, while ignoring the fact that Putin had our troops killed. Scott Dworkin writes, Trump covered up the fact that Putin wanted to pay for our troops to be murdered, because Trump is the biggest traitor in American history. It really is that simple. Scott Dworkin says, I wonder how many Americans died of coronavirus while Trump was golfing. Jester writes, let's pretend Trump and Pence only just learned about Russia putting bounties on U.S. troops in Afghanistan, and that it did result in coalition casualties as per European intel. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? He's done nothing. He doesn't do anything. The New York Times reported that, and now CNN corroborates the story. So now we have New York Times, Washington Post, Fox News, CNN, all the British papers, all in agreement. This happened. Meanwhile, coronavirus update for Las Vegas. They're reporting nearly 1,971 cases. That's just 971. 971 cases of coronavirus in the area. That's the biggest one-day number reported of COVID cases, more than double the previous one-day total. Just want to thank everyone for not wearing a mask. You're spreading the coronavirus. You're killing more people. You're on Team Virus instead of Team Human. I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe you were dropped on your head as a baby. Here's our COVID graph for the Las Vegas area. You can see the incredible size of the recent bar. It's almost if we opened too early a couple of weeks ago. Everyone spread the virus, and now we have an incredible outbreak here in Las Vegas. Previously a tourist city, a tourist capital, a fun place to go. But now, as they would say in Jaws, you're the mayor of Shark City. It really comes up over and over again. You should really watch Jaws. It's great stuff. Blackstone Group is reporting more than 30 days delinquent on $273 million of debt tied to a portfolio of business hotels, a sign that large real estate investors are considering walking away from properties in the pandemic economy. As Peter Tuchman writes, this is where I believe we start to see the fractures in the economy that may affect the markets. Business hotel defaults, large mall bankruptcies, loan defaults. In a few months, this starts kicking in. The market will have to open its eyes. Here it is in The Observer. The GRU, the Russian military intelligence arms, paying Afghanistan militants bounties to kill U.S. and UK troops, was also the organization working with Roger Stone on the WikiLeaks dump to elect Trump. Got to check out that movie, Get Me Roger Stone. Fantastic documentary from 2017. It's just been waiting out there for you to watch it. Andrea Junker writes, who agrees Trump should be the first president in American history to be impeached twice? I'll raise my hand to that one. That seems like a good idea. Breaking news, Worldwide coronavirus cases reach 10 million as deaths reach 500,000. Is that enough deaths for you? Is the virus bad enough yet? Should we stop wearing masks and spread it a little more? Seth Abramson writes, the Kremlin plot to kill U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, a plot the White House was briefed on, shortly after which Trump invited Russia to form a new G8, is now confirmed to have led to U.S./UK casualties. Trump's failure to act remains historically inexplicable. There seems to be almost no reason for it, as if he were a Russian agent. Trump stayed silent. Tom Ingleby writes, there's nothing political related to mask wearing in other countries, and there is no reason it should be. It is just the right thing to do to slow the spread of COVID-19. That's right. Oh, here's that detailed story about TikTok. I don't know if you've been using it. I was more of a Vine guy myself. But yes, they found out not only, like the new Apple software shows you, are they stealing your clipboard every 3 seconds, which should be horrifyingly enough. They're also, let's see, this person reverse engineered the app. I'm going to try to skim this. Their API is using information to get information on you, your contacts, and your device. In every way they're doing it. They say it's a data collection service that is thinly veiled as a social network. TikTok collects your phone hardware, CPU type, number of course, hardware IDs, screen dimension, etc. Other apps you've installed. They've even seen some they deleted apps showing up in the analytics payload. Maybe they're using the cached value. Everything network related, your IP, local IP, router, MAC, your MAC, the Wi-Fi access point name, whether you're rooted or jailbroken. Some variants of the app had GPS pinging enabled at the time, roughly every 30 seconds. This is enabled as default if you ever location tag a post. They also set up a local proxy server on your device for transcoding media, but that can be abused very easily as it has zero authentication. The scariest part of all this is much of the logging they're doing is remotely configurable. And unless you reverse every single one of their native libraries, have fun reading all that assembly code, assuming you can get past their customized fork of OLLVM, I don't know what that is, and manually inspect every single obfuscated function, they have several different protections in place to prevent you from reversing or debugging the app as well. App behavior changes slightly if they know you're trying to figure out what they're doing. There's also a few snippets of code on the Android version that allows for the downloading of a remote zip file, unzipping it, and executing said binary. There's zero reason a mobile app would need this functionality legitimately. On top of this, they're using HTTPS for the they weren't using HTTPS, so they're including email addresses. They're leaking real names and birthdays. This part I found especially interesting. They provide users with a taste of virality to entice them to stay on the platform. Your first TikTok post will likely garner quite a bit of likes, regardless how good it is, assuming you get past the initial moderation queue, if that's still a thing. Most users end up chasing the dragon. There's also a ton of creepy old men who have direct access to children on the app, and I've personally seen and reported some really suspect stuff. 40 to 50-year-old men getting 8 to 10-year-old girls to do duets with them with sexually suggestive songs. Those videos are posted publicly. TikTok has direct messaging functionality. Pretty horrifying. The guy says he's also reversed the Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter apps. They don't collect anywhere near the same amount of data that TikTok does, and they sure as hell aren't outright trying to hide exactly what's being sent like TikTok. It's like comparing a cup of water to the ocean. They just don't compare. So uninstall TikTok. Or get spied on by a Chinese company. It's up to you. As SoCal Crypto said, turning me on to the link, he said, I've been saying it since day one. TikTok is a Chinese spy program and most likely far worse. Do not use TikTok. Scott Dworkin reminds us, any Republican not calling for Trump's immediate removal is a traitor too. Here's what we know. Trump asks Xi for help in the 2020 election. Trump spends months praising China's President Xi for his handling of the coronavirus and fails to prepare America. Trump asks Putin for election help. Trump ignores Russia targeting U.S. troops in Afghanistan. This isn't hard. Treason. And hashtag Tree45on has been trending all day. Why aren't Republicans speaking out? Where are they hiding? And again, they're going to use the same old, oh, I haven't seen that story. Oh, I haven't watched that video. Oh, I haven't read that tweet. It takes all of 5 seconds to read a tweet. They don't have it. They don't have the 5 seconds. And maybe you don't believe in masks. Fortunately, Dr. Rich Davis has provided this with a fantastic and easy to read Twitter graphic here to explain to you how masks work. He performed 2 simple demos. First, he sneezed, sang, talked, and coughed towards an agar culture plate with or without a mask. Bacteria colonies show where droplets landed. A mask blocks virtually all of them. So look right here. Let's get the close-up. Let's get it full screen. Bacteria from respiratory droplets spread by one sneeze. Look at the bacteria on the left here. It's incredibly full. You can see there's tons of bacteria. If you look on the right where they're wearing the mask, hardly any bacteria at all. Look on the left, singing. It's got some specks. Nothing on the right. Look at talking. Got some specks. Nothing on the right. 2 coughs. It almost fills the tray with bacteria, whereas wearing a mask, nothing at all. In fact, even here, I think these things I can see look like they're labels on the bottom of the tray. So there's literally nothing that gets out of your mouth when you wear a mask. So if you wear a mask, you could protect other people from the coronavirus. You may be asymptomatic. I know it's a big word. You're going to need $3. You may be sick without showing symptoms. Yes, it's amazing. The virus can do that. Yeah, I know. It's not like any other virus. It's got its own special thing. So yeah, great stuff there from Dr. Rich Davis. Thanks so much for demonstrating that. I had no idea how bad it was. All right. Thanks to Twitter, they've hidden this under sensitive content, but we're going to show it to you anyway. This was in Louisville, Kentucky. A white supremacist opened fire at a group of peaceful protesters who were organized at Jefferson Square Park, demanding justice for Breonna Taylor. Multiple victims were shot. This is America. And let's go full screen. Let's have the sound. This is a very, this is an unsettling video. If you don't want to watch an unsettling video, please skip forward a couple minutes or pause it or mute it or something like that. Yeah, that's the best we can do. There's your warning. See the man in the center is just shooting randomly at people. At this point, the gentleman holding the camera wisely elects to run. Stay low. Sounds like a war zone. It's hard to believe this is America, right? I think more, obviously, guns are great. We should have more guns. See the people hiding under that system there? That's how bad it is. It feels like a video game, but it's real. This is Louisville, Kentucky yesterday.
Oh my God.
A man there was shot. I don't know if it's...
Someone was shot, Jefferson Square Park.
I don't know if it was that man there, but a man did lose their life today in Louisville, Kentucky, after this man here, currently on the loose, showed up at the park and just started shooting. He just started shooting at people. This is still amazing. I guess it's going to come out tonight on 60 Minutes for real. Trump knowingly allowed flawed antibody tests to circulate, leading to inaccurate data about the virus spread, creating data to support more reopenings, and potentially causing thousands more preventable deaths. I don't know why people keep doing this. There's always records. There's always a paper trail. How could you knowingly allow flawed antibody tests to circulate? How could you do that? Why would you do that? Reopening so important that you have to lie? We all know it never works. You're always like, I'll just get this if I lie. You always get found out. Never works. This is another interesting event here. Sacha Baron Cohen, a fantastic comedian and a social, satirist, like Mark Twain, right? Highest level, right here at the top. Ali G, Mark Twain. He infiltrated the Washington 3%, apparently a local right-wing militia event in Olympia, Washington, not D.C. A last-minute big donor paid to sponsor the event and to hire security. And then that security kept the organizers from getting on stage to stop Cohen. This man right here was the organizer of the militia event. Great. And he had trouble getting on the stage. He couldn't get to the generators. Ali G had his own security on the generators. He completely took over their situation. And while it's not in this video, coming up in the feed, we will play for you the early version of Ali G. Or Sacha Baron Cohen, he's just any character now. But he gets up on stage and he sings kind of a country song. And the words are great. Weird Al again. But yes, the words are great. Seems like a lifetime ago, but just yesterday, we talked about justice for Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain was 140 pounds. He was a massage therapist. He played violin, and he was wearing a mask on the street when the police stopped him, harassed him, attacked him. Then paramedics gave him a sedative that killed him. Thousands are gathering near Denver to demand justice for Elijah McClain. This event happened last year. The police were not punished. No one was punished. No one went to jail. Nothing happened. But now more than 2 million people have signed a petition, and the video is resurfaced, and people are super mad, and it's unbelievable. This is such a kind, nice kid. They just attacked him, and then they killed him. It's unbelievable. It's another coronavirus graph. Kind of seems like a football match or a soccer game in better times. Italia versus Mexico. Epidemica y deceleracia versus epidemica in acceleration. So you can see right here, and some of my friends in Mexico didn't believe in the virus, and they told me, no, that's a U.S. thing, and that's fake, and that's a lie. You can see Mexico almost going diagonally straight up, as if they didn't even try anything to stop the spread of the virus. And now they've passed Italy. Italy has had a sudden downturn, while as Mexico continues to race upward, probably attempting to catch the United States. They did nothing to stop the virus in Mexico, as far as I know, and many of the people there didn't believe in it, at least according to when I talked to them. Crazy stuff. I wish it was a football game. Still, just this Russia thing, just unbelievable. Kai Cooperschmidt writes, in 2018, I wrote a small book in German about infectious diseases. The last sentences Neue Setzungen werden kommen. Ob sie zur Katastrophe werden, wir von allem davon abhängen. Was am Ende überwiegt. Empathy und Erfindingsreichtum, sorry, I don't know that one, oder Ignoranz und Egoismus. Translated, new plagues will come. Whether they lead to catastrophe will depend mostly on what wins out in the end. Empathy and innovation, or ignorance and selfishness. Sadly, I think we're on the latter side of that right now. Rachel Bidekoffer writes, do you know why EU Intel is confirming this? They want you, the American voter, to know before Election Day that your president not only did nothing, he continued to coddle the Russian president after finding out for months. And yes, it's been confirmed that there were indeed victims of the bounties. We talked about this yesterday, but it has been confirmed. Washington, D.C. police are now doing this every night when they think the cameras are gone, trashing food and medical supplies, hitting people in the face, and using mace. Police brutality has not stopped. See the continued use as bikes as weapons. It does seem like the police are converging on the tent, likely a medical tent or a supply tent. Here the police are entering the tent, destroying the tent, rushing the people, pushing them, shoving them, attacking. That's a complete attack by the police. They've now taken down the tent. They're destroying the medical and food supplies. They are attacking their own people. Note the way the bicycles are used to charge forward, creating space, hitting him right in the face. The police just hit him right in the face. Now they're using mace. Tear gas, looks like they maced a couple of the police right there. Oopsie. They're tackling many people. These are people attempting to give medical supplies and food.
Their own people.
They did spray their own people.
They sprayed their own people. They sprayed through the tent. They sprayed their own people.
It really shows you don't have control over your unit when your military is attacking itself. Look right here, we see the wreckage left of the medical and food supplies, the tent that they had set up to help serve the protesters. The police continue to just smash and destroy the tent so that there'll be nothing left. Destruction of personal property. The police don't own this property. They're just destroying it. And they don't think there's a camera. Look at that, just kicking over the barbecue, starting a fire on the street, smashing things. Unbelievable. In Washington, D.C., in America. Pay it no mind. It's just the police destroying medical supplies and food, hitting people in the face, using mace. Don't bother it. According to Now Television in Hong Kong, the national security law for Hong Kong may pass on Tuesday. The maximum penalty for secession and subversion could be life imprisonment. So speaking out against the government of China in Hong Kong, etc., may result in life imprisonment. Get out of Hong Kong. UK officials are also confirming the report. Trump and Pence were briefed in late March, and Trump waited 3 months to brief Boris Johnson. Trump can't claim that he didn't know when he briefed Boris Johnson. And what did Boris do? Seems like nothing. The Lincoln Project jokes, I thought we were at least a few more weeks away from the president tweeting white power. But I guess that's what happens when you get caught letting Putin kill our soldiers. And as you heard this morning, Trump retweets a video of a man shouting white power. Let's check it out after we get through Cloudflare. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. Oh, yeah, of course. I got that plugin that blocks every web page you go to. That's really useful. Let's see if we can get this web page to load here. Maybe. There we go. No. White power, really? Let's see. They don't seem to have the original Trump tweet. Let's see. Here we go. So this was originally labeled as seniors from the villages in Florida protesting against each other. And it's a really interesting video because both the people in their golf carts on the Trump parade and the people that are watching all live in the villages. This guy's shirt right here says the villages. Trump saw this as one-sided. He believed that only the people who live there have the golf carts. The other people, he didn't believe they lived there. And it's quite shocking because if you watch this video in the first 8 seconds, and it's a bit of a, there's a bit of a commotion. It's a bit hard to hear, but eventually you'll hear it. The guy's chanting white power from the Trump golf cart right there. Let's listen.
Where's your white run? Where's your white run? Racist. Yeah, you got it. White power. Yes, there you go. White power. You hear that? White power. Yes, there you got it. White power. Yes, there you go. White power. You hear that?
There you go. White power. Did you hear that? 8 seconds into the video, retweeted by the president. It's almost like he's trying to make things worse, like he doesn't care about solving the issues at all. He just wants to exasperate them and make them worse. John Wolfstall writes, I was a senior director at the National Security Council. I had a personal intelligence briefing every single day. I could not do my job otherwise. The idea that the president was not briefed on this is, on its face, incredible, as in falls outside the range of what is believable. We're going to find out soon. This lie isn't going to last. As you can see, the President of the United States retweeted a video this morning in which one of his supporters yelled white power at a protester. As you can see, he thanked and praised the man as one of the great people in the retirement community who support him. Trump saying on Twitter, "Thank you to the great people of the villages. The radical left do-nothing Democrats will fall in the fall." That's garbage writing. "Corrupt Joe is shot." That's horrible. "See you soon." So yes, these are great people screaming white power. Fred Wellman writes, "As a soldier, I would want my commander-in-chief to be more angry at the people who placed a bounty on my head than those who reported it. I also want him to care if there's even one attack on us. Trump doesn't mind us being murdered as long as you know it's just a few of us." And let's see what he said. The guy screen capped it. "Nobody briefed or told me, VP Pence or Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, about the so-called attacks on our troops in Afghanistan by Russians." That's not even really explaining the issue. It's more about paying people in Afghanistan to kill troops, which was successful, as reported through an anonymous source by the fake news New York Times, as well as the Washington Post, Fox News, NBC News, CNN, and all the British papers. Everybody is denying it, and there have not been many attacks on us. So the soldier here is upset that Trump doesn't care as long as it's just a few of us. It's a pretty bad look. Looks like it's possible that Trump might have taken the tweet down, but that's unlikely. Jeff Tiedrick writes, "Raise your hand if you'd like to see Donald Trump testify in front of Congress for 11 straight hours on live television to explain why he did nothing after learning that Putin was paying Afghan militants to kill American soldiers." And there's a small reference in there. I'm not sure if you guys get it. Hillary Clinton once testified in front of Congress for 11 hours straight on the Benghazi issue, and she was fantastic. She defended it from every angle, and the Republicans looked like fools, even after keeping her there for 11 straight hours. Brian Tyler Cohen writes, "Were you wondering why, randomly, Trump began accusing Obama of treason? It's because he knew this story was coming out, and he was literally guilty of treason. It's always projection. It does seem like he's often speaking about himself when he speaks of others. A Caesars employee died after testing positive for COVID-19 because the casinos did not force their guests to wear masks. The employees wore masks, protecting the guests, but the guests did not wear masks, which led to the infection and death of an employee because of Caesars, because they opened too early, because they were full of greed. They're going to lose the court case on this one, too. They're going to pay. You know, money. Yeah, there's just no way he wasn't briefed on this. Aaron Rupar says, holy shit. 8 seconds into this video, one of the Trump fans the president is thanking yells, white power. It's really unbelievable. And again, like I just said, Trump is denying something different here than what's been reported. Russians reportedly provided bounties to Afghani militants to kill U.S. troops. Nobody is saying there were attacks on our troops in Afghanistan by Russian, so Trump's denial is totally meaningless. It's a non-denial. A non-denial denial. Those are the best denials. Spy Chief Ratcliffe said Trump never briefed on Russia offering Taliban bounties. Glenn Kirshner writes, if Ratcliffe is telling the truth, that he failed to brief Trump or Putin on paying for the murder of U.S. troops, he must immediately resign, as he's endangered soldiers' lives. If he's lying, a safe bet, he should resign. Either way, he's made himself a marquee defendant come 2021. Oh no. Oh, not this one. Christopher Bouzet writes, for decades, folks on the right have been trying to control women's bodies and their reproductive organs. And now these same folks are talking about my body, my choice, when it comes to wearing masks to help save lives. The hypocrisy is palatable. And again, you might not want to watch this next one. You might want to pause the video and come back later, or maybe go watch Jaws, something fun. This is unbelievable. So this is about a year old. Sorry we didn't get it sooner. It's spreading right now. A Miami cop has been arrested after kneeling on the neck of a pregnant woman and repeatedly tasing her in the stomach. It sounds unbelievable. It sounds unthinkable. It sounds abhorrent and horrible and war crimes-esque and all these things. But again, we've got video. So if you don't want to watch this, I understand. It's a terrifying video of police brutality in Miami.
Why is y'all doing all that?
You can't reach in my car. What are you doing? Like, no, what is he
Why
doing?
is y'all doing all that? What are you doing? Why is you doing all that? Why the f is you doing all that? Are you serious?
I'm 119 pounds.
On her neck, though? Why is you kneeing on her neck, though? That's weird. Why is y'all kneeling on her neck, though? Why are you kneeling on her?
Get back! Get back!
No, why are you tasing her? Why are you tasing her? Don't touch me. Don't touch me. No, don't touch me. Why y'all record? Why is y'all tasing her? Stop touching her. No.
Like, this is
Can you please delete it?
I swear to in my car.
Why is y'all
They're
doing all
asking.
that?
It's amazing. They're asking her to delete the video. The police are right here. They have their knee on her neck. You see right there, and then she gets out of the car. A knee on the neck, and they're tasing directly at her belly. It's almost as if they're attempting to kill the baby to punish this woman. These are police in Miami. They're paid to protect citizens, to serve and protect. Instead, this woman, I think she mouthed off at them. They were stopping her, and she mouthed off, so they pulled her out of the car, this pregnant woman. They threw her on the ground. They put their knee on her neck, and then they tased in her stomach, looking like they're trying to kill the baby multiple times.
Why is you kneeing on her neck, though? That's weird as Why is I kneeing on her neck, though? Why are you kneeing on her?
Get back! Get back!
No, why are you tasing her? Why are you tasing her?
Turn around and put your hands on your...
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. No, don't touch me.
Please delete that.
Why y'all recording? Why is y'all tasing her?
Stop delete that, sir.
No.
Please delete that. This guy here who says, please delete that, some kind of security guard, is standing by watching these officers tase a pregnant woman multiple times in her belly. And he's worried about the video. He says, please delete that. Will you delete that video? That video of your friend being tased multiple times in the pregnant belly by police? For what purpose? For what crime? And the Miami Gardens have finally fired this cop. It doesn't sound like there have been any charges. He put his knee on a woman's neck and he tased her. The woman later lost the child. So they may have killed the baby here. This is a video from January showing him holding his knee to a pregnant black woman's neck while tasing her multiple times in the stomach. He's been charged with battery and official misconduct. How about murder? A Miami-Dade state official announced Thursday. The officer, Jordy Yanes Martel, can be seen in the video dragging 33-year-old Sophia Satchel out of her vehicle before putting a knee on her neck and stunning her twice with a taser in the stomach. She was a few weeks pregnant at the time and would not have the child, but she did not lose it as a result of the tasing. Okay, so that's good at least. But still, the incident happened early in the morning, January 14, outside of a strip club. There was an argument with the manager over food. They wanted her to have a trespassing warning. As she got into her vehicle, a security guard stood in front and prevented her from leaving while they asked her for her ID. She said she couldn't because she was wearing shoes. She couldn't get out of the car because she wasn't wearing shoes, which angered Martel, who then reached into the car before dragging her out and tasing her. Of course, the police lied and told an alternate story. If we didn't have the video, we wouldn't have known. The officer claimed that Satchel had closed the window of her car on his hand, and he resisted by kicking before punching him on the lip, which the video does not show. It's unbelievable. They say that 2 officers had investigations pending previously, and it just keeps happening. Shout out to John Cleese, Monty Python member, Fawlty Towers. I see that President Trump, while downplaying the coronavirus, is asking for extra protection of himself. Sums it up, doesn't it? Chris Murphy writes, a senator from Connecticut, our president is openly working to help a deadly virus spread that has killed 120,000 Americans. Russia is putting bounties on the heads of American soldiers, and he seems okay with it. He's distributing white power videos. And that's just the last 48 hours. So you can see why I didn't want to do the news today. Who really wants to know all this stuff? They say ignorance is bliss, but I've never known it. Trump is counting on the Supreme Court to save him. David Frum writes, P.S. This Russia bounty story confirms why Congress is abundantly acting within its oversight mission to subpoena Trump's business records. Does Trump owe money to Russian persons is an urgent national security question. And I imagine it'll all be there. I imagine all the documents we've been looking for, the tax returns, so on and so forth, the smoking gun will be plainly in plain sight. It'll seem really simple, and we'll all wonder why we couldn't have found this out sooner. If he had released his tax returns like every other presidential candidate for the last 50 years, we would have known right then who lent him the money to bail him out after his casinos failed in the 90s. There's even an issue that's already on record where there's this house that was in Florida that was worth like $1 million, and Trump sold it to a Russian oligarch for $4 million. A few years later, the Russian oligarch sold the house again, this time for $1 million. That means that Trump got to keep $3 million of dirty money. That's how money laundering works. Hey, isn't he into real estate? I wonder if that happened multiple times. I'll bet the records will show. Simon Rosenberg writes, the issue here is and remains Trump's rancid deference to Putin and Russia. Trump never challenges him, never demands Putin stop any of his attacks on our people, our interests, our companies. In his tweet, he says, so-called attacks, and that there were not many. He's letting Putin know it's all cool. Don't worry, bro. Mike Rogers, representative, writes, the implications of who knew what and when on the Russian bounty intel are concerning. If the intelligence community didn't brief the White House, that's a problem. If the NSC had it and didn't brief it, that's also a problem. If the White House was briefed and didn't act, that's unconscionable. David Korn works over Trump's to-do list. Say nothing about how to stop the pandemic killing thousands of Americans. Check. Say nothing to Putin about Russia paying militants to kill U.S. soldiers. Check. Retweet racist tweet. Check. Defend Confederate statues. Check. Play golf. Check. George Takei says, it's been days since the story broke about Russia paying bounties for the murder of U.S. troops. Trump claims he was never briefed. But where is his statement of condemnation now? Why isn't he calling for sanctions and actions? Treasonous. David Frum says, there's been no denials of the Russian bounty story from the Pentagon, the CIA, or National Security Advisor O'Brien. Wonder why that is. Coronavirus cases in the United States continue to rise, looking like an S-curve, heading into the part where the S-curve goes straight up again, while European Union and South Korea, who got the coronavirus at the same time as the United States, have almost no cases in South Korea, less than 5,000 new cases in the European Union. And someone responded to this and they said, new cases, like it was nothing. But again, cases come first, then everyone gets sick, then a couple of and then hospitalizations come next as sick people go to the hospital. Then the sick people start dying, and then the deaths go up. So cases comes first, then hospitalizations, then deaths. So all you have to do is wait. You can have fun if you want. You can be like, uh-oh, new cases are up, but I'm sure hospitalizations won't go up. And then when hospitalizations go up, you can be like, new cases are up and hospitalizations are up, but I don't think deaths will go up. And then when the deaths go up, what do you do then? I guess you just start it all over again. You didn't care about the truth anyway. Here, Secretary of Health Alec Azar, absurdly claims that neither the president, his administration, nor I would do anything to be supportive of white supremacy. When we all know Trump just retweeted this video within the first 8 seconds, the man is chanting white power. He says they're great people. Dressed for golf, President Trump just left the White House with Senator Lindsey Graham, 2 traitors golfing together while America burns. How nice. Scott Dworkin writes, Trump shared a video with it where his supporters screams white power twice, which shouldn't surprise anyone, since Trump's the biggest racist in the world. Disprove it. You ever heard about his father? They wouldn't allow black people to rent apartments in their building. It's on record. Like, they have a history. They were attacked several times. They were punished by the New York City for not allowing black people to rent their apartments. This is all on the record. This was available before the election. You could have known this. I've known this. Shout out to Zeddy. He says, I've been awake for about 2 minutes. I see Trump is covering for Russia. Shock, I know. Boosted an anti-Semites indoor super spreader event and thanked a reporter for yelling white power at Florida seniors. Did I miss anything? Yes, it was a very tough morning today. Joshua Holland says, it would probably be good to have a president of the United States who'd find Russia putting bounties on our troops more troubling than the New York Times reporting it. Does seem to be a disconnect there. Victoria Brownworth says, I keep putting this story up because it really is one of the more horrifying stories out of this horrific presidency. Think of these young men and women's lives. Russia secretly offered Afghan militants bounties to kill U.S. troops. That's an act of war, you know? Like when soldiers pay other soldiers to kill soldiers, it's the same as if they killed them themselves, right? So Russia went to war against the United States in Afghanistan, and we did nothing, and we do nothing, and we say nothing. Here we go. Liz Cheney, wife of Dick Cheney, the chair of the House Republican Conference, is demanding answers from the White House over reports that Russia secretly offered bounties to Taliban-linked militants for killing U.S. troops in Afghanistan. So here we go. We have one Republican, Dick Cheney's wife, of all people, also the chair of the House Republican Conference, and she is asking for answers. So finally, some curiosity from a Republican. Trump's weekend has it all: treachery, cruelty, and outright racism. On Friday, he ignored Russia murdering U.S. troops. On Saturday, he played golf after bragging about trying to steal your health care during a pandemic. And on Sunday, he's retweeting white supremacist chants. I hope they impeach him on Monday. I don't know what they're doing now, but they need to arrest him and impeach him and remove him. Travis Allen writes, once again, Trump has sided with Russia over America. He doesn't even pretend to side with America. Who does he work for? John Bolton tells Jake Tapper he thinks President Trump would be motivated to deny he was aware that Russia secretly offered Taliban-linked militants bounties to kill U.S. troops because it looks bad if Russians are paying to kill Americans and we aren't doing anything about it. So he lied to cover up the truth, which, as we know, always comes out in the end. We always find out that you're lying. Trump's not concerned. He's going golfing with Lindsey. Russia put a bounty on our soldiers. Hand me the 9-iron. Trump retweeted a video with a man shouting white power. Pass me my pitching wedge. The administration used faulty testing to expedite opening the country. Putter time. It's despicable. Scott Dworkin writes, Trump is en route to his Virginia golf course with lapdog Lindsey Graham because they're both lazy and useless traitors who hate America. As Bolton says, if it is true, underline the word if, that they are paying surrogates to kill Americans, this is one of the most serious matters I think that has arisen in the Trump administration. An administration that would have been over if Bolton had testified and saved the country. John Bolton, traitor to America. Benedict Arnold, John Bolton. John Bolton, Benedict Arnold. Nancy Pelosi spoke out this morning on George Stephanopoulos' show this week on ABC. Let's check out what the Speaker of the House had to say.
Do you believe that the president hasn't been briefed on this? And secondly, how would you explain the New York Times is saying it was actually in the president's daily brief? Perhaps he didn't read it. How would you explain if the president weren't briefed on this?
Because the president wants to ignore any allegation against Russia. As I've said to him in that meeting when I'm pointing to him in a blue suit, with you, Mr. President, all roads lead to Putin. Russia's never gotten over the humiliation they suffered in Afghanistan, and now they're taking it out on us, our troops. This is totally outrageous. You would think that the minute the president heard of it, he would want to know more instead of denying that he knew anything. Now, if in fact, we'll find out if he has been briefed, and it was in his daily brief, but if it were not, what does that say about the concern that those who briefed the president have about not going anywhere near the Russia issue with this president? This is appalling. This is beyond, the list is a long one in terms of his ignoring what Russia has done. You see what he is a gift to Russia to diminish our leadership in NATO, diminish our troops in Germany, all a gift to Putin. Something is very wrong here, but this must have an answer.
Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, demanding answers. Justin Hendricks writes, that feeling so many had the morning after the 2016 election, the visceral pain and grief, I now believe it was a collective premonition. You knew this moment was coming. Mass death, open white supremacy, betrayal of our own soldiers, economic disaster. You felt it in your bones. Not one administration official has denied the core intelligence at the heart of the Russia-Afghanistan story. Instead, their defense is that the White House is so disorganized that crucial information doesn't get shared with the president or the vice president. This is itself stunning. When Trump and Pence say they weren't briefed on Russia paying to kill American soldiers, what they mean is they weren't listening to no stinking national security briefings. He listens to his gut. Next time, Trump will say that Putin denies it, and he sees no reason to doubt Putin. John Bolton reacting to President Trump's denial that he was briefed on Russia offering bounties to kill coalition forces.
Ambassador Bolton, welcome to CNN. Thanks for joining us. So CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and others are reporting this weekend that an element of the Russian GRU has been offering bounty to terrorists in Afghanistan if they kill coalition troops, including Americans, of course, according to U.S. intelligence agencies. The president just tweeted this morning that he was not briefed about the, quote, so-called attacks. Notably, no condemnation of Russia or a denial of the report of the U.S. intelligence. Do you believe that he's not been briefed? And if this is true, what should the U.S. do?
Well, look, I think first we have to stress there's much we don't know about this, and with all due respect to the highly esteemed news services you mentioned, they get things wrong from time to time. What we do know is the Russians want us out of Afghanistan. They want us out of Syria. They want us out of Iraq. They want us out of a lot of places. And if it is true, underline the word if, that they are paying surrogates to kill Americans, this is one of the most serious matters, I think, that has arisen in the Trump administration. Now, so I asked myself this morning, I've been puzzled over the tweet of the president saying, I don't know anything about this, although this sounds like a story I could have written on page 372 of my book. What would motivate the president to do that? Because it looks bad if Russians are paying to kill Americans and we're not doing anything about it. So what is the presidential reaction? It's to say, it's not my responsibility, nobody told me about it, and therefore to duck any complaints that he hasn't acted effectively. This is part of the problem with Trump, President Trump's decision-making in the national security space. It's just unconnected to the reality he's dealing with. It's about his personal position.
Unconnected to reality, only about himself. Trump needs to go. And an update on the earlier story from Louisville, Kentucky, where peaceful protesters were gathering to demand justice for the killing of Breonna Taylor, and that white supremacist showed up and opened fire. A man was fatally shot at the park. A man lost his life after the white supremacist protester or white supremacist murderer showed up with his guns, shooting at the peaceful people in the park. Richard Grenell, acting DNI, says, quote, "I never heard this, and it's disgusting how you continue to politicize intelligence. You clearly don't understand how raw intel gets verified. Leaks of partial information to reporters from anonymous sources is dangerous because people like you manipulate it for political gain." But Stone Kettle is not having any of this. Stone Kettle writes, "I'm a retired intelligence officer. I sure as fuck understand how raw intelligence gets verified because I'm the guy they send to do it. You have exactly zero training and experience in such matters. You're a political hack with 5 minutes on the job as acting DNI. Sit down." Powerful response from Stone Kettle. Lindsey Graham, 2016. "If we nominate Trump, we will get destroyed, and we will deserve it." June 20th, June 2020, Lindsey Graham. "My name is Reek." A powerful reference to the Game of Thrones series. Lindsey Graham, more and more Trump's toady, his worm tooth to his Saruman, Igor to his Dr. Frankenstein. He's just one of these slaves that follows him around and does what the master says. Sorry, not master, primary. Here's a cute animation of Mnuchin's money machine. It takes thin air and it prints out money.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
That's cool. Check that out. How does that work? That's how money is made, but not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's different. Nancy Pelosi just called for a national mandate to wear masks. Nancy Pelosi's actually interested in saving the American people. Perhaps if Trump and Pence were impeached and removed, Nancy Pelosi would make a good president.
Is it time to mandate the wearing of masks across the country?
Oh, I definitely long overdue for that. And my understanding that the Centers for Disease Control has recommended the use of masks, but not required it because they don't want to offend the president. And the president should be example. You know, real men wear masks. Be an example to the country and wear the mask. Not only it's not about protecting yourself, it's about protecting others and their families.
Is it time to mandate the...
Real men wear masks. It's about protecting others and their families. Powerful words from Nancy Pelosi. Great stuff. And yes, she would be third in line if Trump and Pence were both removed for treason supporting the country of Russia over the country of the United States, the one they're supposed to serve. Nancy Pelosi, as Secretary of State, would become the 46th President of the United States, keeping control of the country until the election on November 5th. Interesting story from the banking sector, Bitcoin related. Chase Manhattan Bank is investigating reports of missing and additional money in bank accounts. That's right, they can't even keep their accounts straight. People are reporting money is gone. Other people, fortunately, are reporting money has arrived. Chase doesn't seem to have any control over their computers or their accounts. As you know, this would never happen with Bitcoin. Maybe Chase should just hold their customers' funds in Bitcoin. Let them hold the keys. And we did it. We made it to the top. We survived the news of Sunday. Give yourselves a pat on the back. You survived the news. You made it through. It was rough. It's hard to remember back now, but it is still technically Big Book Day. Although all this horrible news can ruin something fun like Big Book Day. We checked out Kurt Cobain's journals. This is a cool book. It looks like a journal, and it's full of, here's right here, I flipped to him, looks like a Elvis drawing or something. It's full of drawings and artwork, and you get the actual text of what Kurt Cobain was writing. It says Elvis Cooper, it says here. Not sure what that is. Looks a little Ziggy Stardust-like. Several of the unfinished lyrics sheets are in here. You can see Cobain making small choices and changes to the lyrics. That's pretty cool. Really gets you inside and behind the band that was Nirvana and the person who was Kurt Cobain. So check out Kurt Cobain's journals. It's not going to stay on that shelf, but I'm going to try. I also got day-to-day illustrated journals of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, really. There's him with Courtney Love in Happier Times. And this is a really cool book because it's illustrated and because they took the journals from the other book and typed them up, so they're really easy to read. The other book can be difficult to read because it's in his original handwriting. We've also got a couple more big books. Sunday is Big Book Day. We checked out Weird Al, the book. I'm a big Weird Al fan, pretty much my whole life. And fantastic to see him in a large coffee table book form. Here he is showing off his Madonna outfit from Like a Surgeon. A great classic video. It's funny with the knowing all these Weird Al songs. A lot of the times I don't even know the real original song. I find out years later. I'm like, oh, that was a parody? I thought he might have written an original. But yes, check out Weird Al if you haven't already. He's hilarious. It's fun. It's good for kids. Teaches them different genres of music. You might not like, you might not be exposed to rap or country or pop music. And Weird Al will get you that exposure that you need and help you understand that all music is great. You have personal choices aside, but music is just one of the greatest things around, no matter the genre, even country, right? Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell, Willie Nelson, and what's his? Kenny Loggins, Kenny Rogers, sorry. And we checked out Eminem with his very cool red cover, The Way I Am, exposing his lyrics and other things written all over the graphics. The biggest rapper in history. Kind of a light fan book, but very cool book about Eminem, talking about where he grew up and his old friends, how he became a rapper, and like the Cobain book, also features some unfinished lyric sheets where he's working out the lyrics. I don't know what this is about, but that's interesting. Maybe it's one of his music videos. Yeah, it looks like a music video. Gosh, that's a lot of extras. I wonder if they did that for real. Probably. It's pretty hard to fake, especially given the time and day. That's another really neat thing about Jaws. As you watch it, of course, it's probably been remastered or something by now, but the original frames, the original film, a computer never touched Jaws. Like, there's really no computer digital special effects. Everything is real world physical. It happened when they filmed it, or they don't have it, right? There's no stupid digital CG shark put in there, right? There's a physical shark, or there's no shark at all, and they're just making you afraid by using music and water and other things. So it's a really great film. I suggest you watch it. I saw this other guy, Angus, on Twitter. He was saying how he's every weekend he shows old films to his kids that they haven't seen yet. Sounded like a really fun thing to do if you've got kids. It sounded like he was watching The Maltese Falcon. It's a good one. Then he was going to show them Alien and Do the Right Thing. So interesting mix of films there, but definitely would suggest that. And would suggest, of course, the films I've been recommending. Jaws, Get Me, Roger Stone, the documentary. And I also have a soft spot for the movie The Hunt. It just came out this year. It's a 2020 film. I was trying to watch them all. I might try again. I don't know. After you find something like The Hunt, you're like, they can't make anything better. Just give up. But check out those movies. Checking out the price of Bitcoin one more time. Looks like it might have found a bottom. It might have recovered. It looked like it was heading down following the stock market down. But once again, if the stock market dumps tomorrow, don't expect Bitcoin to go up. But then again, who knows? It's a crazy thing. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.64% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,153, a high of 9,193, and a low of 8,855. That's $1 for 10,924 Satoshis. Volume is a little high for a weekend, with 4,087 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean long, with 81% heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance was at 65%. And you can see here the price previously around 92.50 broke through that 92 level that they said was also important. Later, we would see a drop to 88.55 before a possible recovery right now to 91.54. So keeping an eye on the price of Bitcoin, even on a Sunday. Thanks so much to everybody for joining us. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. If you've got a couple extra bucks and you're looking to support us, you could always get a t-shirt from worldcryptonetwork.store. We just opened this up a couple of weeks ago, so I'm mentioning it a lot. Personally, I've bought the Trezors Don't Float shirt and the World Crypto Network mug, but the mugs haven't arrived yet, so I'm desperately awaiting my mug. I've also heard good things about the Bitcoin Not Bombs Bitcoin Happening shirt. I hope to get one of those for myself soon. And World Crypto Network, the shirt. Interesting thing about Teespring, these are print on demand. So you would think I could just put them all in a cart and order them, but they'd actually charge you individual shipping for each one of these items. So it does get pretty pricey, even from my end. But again, print on demand's cool. This means I don't have a giant box of t-shirts in my house, and you don't have to wait for me to ship it out for you to get your t-shirt. They do all the work. So it's pretty cool. Each shirt is like a $6 donation to the World Crypto Network, if you're interested. Thank you, if you are. Check out World Crypto Network audio podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and other places where you listen to podcasts. It's almost up to date. I think I have to do a little work, get this episode and yesterday's episode on there. But you can check out the Bitcoin group from Friday, where we discussed all the major issues in Bitcoin and now the world. Check it out right here on the World Crypto Network. You can also leave us a rating if you want. We get a lot of 4-star ratings and we get a lot of 1-star ratings. So it kind of works out, I guess. But people love it or they hate it. So it goes. But thanks so much to everybody for joining us. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Even if you might disagree, I appreciate you showing up and speaking your mind and hopefully being respectful to the other people in the chat, but I don't know if that's happening. But I don't know. That's about it. We did about 2.5 hours here. That's good for a Sunday. We covered all the news from Bounty Gate to this bizarre fake antibody story allowing us to reopen. I don't know why you would do that. To the president tweeting about white power this morning, as well as the lady being tasered on the ground with her baby, her pregnant baby, and the cops destroying medical supplies and stuff in D.C., the rioters in Portland, the white supremacists that showed up in Louisville and shot a man. It's been a long day, and it's just getting started. So have a great Sunday. Hope to see you guys again on Monday. Until next time, bye.